76%. Chapter 441 The Frightened Sea Clan Strongman. Boom, 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 boom. Densely packed bright beams of light shot towards the camp of the fallen angel army. There are millions of ways. Like a dense meteor shower across the sky. At this time, bursts of roars and roars sounded in the camp of the fallen angel army. Immediately afterwards, layer after layer of law barriers appeared, blocking the front of those energy beams. Bang, 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 accompanied by bursts of loud noises and a series of violent explosions. The dense energy beams all hit the law barriers, causing them to tremble and break apart layer by layer. Energy beam, from the battleship of the Medusa Empire. The law shield comes from more than 100 abyss dragons belonging to the fallen angel camp. More than 100 abyss dragons are more than 100 powerful demigods. And more than 100 layers of law barriers. It is simply not something that the warships of the Medusa Empire can destroy. It is still possible to switch to the City of Angels of the Holy Angel Legion. Oh my god, that's the Abyss Demonic Dragon, a powerful creature from the underworld camp. How come they appear here and join the Angel Clan's camp? More than 100 demigod-level Abyss Dragons, are they going to destroy the entire world? On the waves in the distance, a strong man from the Sea Clan was shouting in horror. Queen Medusa and others standing on the deck of a battleship were also shocked. Looking at their entire Medusa Empire, even the Sea Clan, and the Sea Beast army, the total number of demigods does not exceed 100, which is already very amazing. The Orc royal court, which was destroyed by the Angel army, only had a few dozen demigods. On the other hand, the army of fallen angels in front of them consisted of more than 100 demigod-level abyss dragons when they were dispatched, which was simply terrifying. The most important is, since when did the underworld cooperate with the Angel Clan? In the camp of the fallen angel army, they not only saw the figure of the abyss dragon, but also saw a large number of three-headed hell dogs, controlled by high-ranking fallen angels one after another. People who don't know the inside story would really think that the underworld has joined forces with the angel family. But who knows, the underworld is just a victim. Of course, it doesn't matter. The important thing is that the more than 100 abyss dragons are not just for defense. Under the control of the 10-winged fallen angels, they directly kill the Sea Army and Sea Beast army of the Medusa Empire. This scene instantly shocked the powerful men of the Medusa Empire. Because those 10-winged fallen angels who control the abyss dragon are basically at the demigod level. Only a very few are at the pinnacle of the Holy Order. To put it bluntly, what they were about to face was an attack by more than 200 demigods. More than 200 demigods were enough to bloodbath their Sea Clan army and Sea Beast army. This is a wrong decision. A strong man from the Sea tribe blurted out, "If we had known that the strength of the angel army was so terrifying, we should not have come to support the dragon tribe." In comparison, turtles huddled in the deep sea still have a chance of survival. These words were not criticized or refuted. Because many strong people from the Sea tribe think like this. Even Queen Medusa, who was holding the Poseidon trident, felt a little regretful. The war strength of the fallen angel army far exceeded her imagination. She originally thought that the size of the angel army would not be too large. After all, this was just a small and incomplete floating island world, not worthy of the Angel Clan's covetousness. Who would have thought that the Angel Clan would be an army of millions upon dispatch? Moreover, the number of powerful people at the demigod level is as high as hundreds. This is simply bullying. Gathering all the demigods on the entire floating island, there may only be 200 or 300, which is not as many as the number of demigods in this angel army camp. What Queen Medusa doesn't know is, this is just an army of angels under Lin Yu. In the underground world, in the land of abundance, and on the floating island in another world, Lin Yu has more angel armies fighting. Especially on the floating island in another world, the total size of the angel army invested by Lin Yu has exceeded tens of millions. If all the angel legions were gathered together. That's real bullying, just when Queen Medusa's army was preparing to fight the incoming abyss dragon. The attack of the Nature Elf Empire has also arrived. However, what everyone did not expect was that the attack of the Natural Elf army was not directed at the fallen angel camp, but turned its guns around and directly bombarded the Sea Clan army and Sea Beast army. Millions of energy beams streaked across the sky with lightning speed. It blasted into the camp of the Sea Clan army and Sea Beast army. In an instant, a deafening roar sounded, and the huge waves were torn into pieces. I don't know how many sea tribes and sea beasts died on the spot. The dazzling blood dyed the sea water red in the blink of an eye. In fact, some powerful people from the sea tribe reacted in advance and used their own fields or the power of laws to resist. But you must know that it was a concentrated bombardment from tens of thousands of elven warships. How could they possibly block them all? And this is a surprise attack by the natural elf army. It is also normal to cause huge casualties to Queen Medusa's army. 76%. Chapter 442 Grisette, what on earth are you doing? There were huge waves and the water was dyed red. Corpses were everywhere, and countless sea tribes and sea beasts were howling miserably. They were lucky enough to escape and were not directly bombarded by the dense energy beam, but they were basically missing arms and legs. Some were even blasted through their bodies, with their internal organs flowing everywhere. This sudden attack shocked the Medusa clan and the Dragon clan. The natural elf empire, like them, is a native force in this world. And it is also a famous advanced intelligent race. The nature elves have great prestige and power in this world. In terms of racial strength alone, the Dragon clan cannot compare to the natural elf empire. This is also one of the reasons why the Dragon clan did not go to the land, but multiplied on the 36 islands in the bay. If you go to land, you may have friction with the natural elf empire. From the perspective of the Dragon clan and the Medusa clan, it is absolutely impossible for the natural elf empire to surrender to the kingdom of heaven. The reason why the Holy Sea of Light and Land of Abundance took refuge is because the God of faith of those Illuminati believers is the Lord of Holy Light of the Angel clan. Even if they take refuge, it would not be unbelievable. But what about the Nature Elf Empire? Their gods of faith are the goddesses of nature and spirits. Moreover, the goddess of nature and elves is also the founder and mother goddess of the natural elves. They have absolutely no reason to betray their mother goddess and switch to the faith of the Holy Light. This is something that would never happen under normal circumstances. Graced, what on earth are you doing? A roar resounded throughout the world. It's Dragon King Angst. The anger in his heart was stronger than that of Queen Medusa, who was attacked by surprise and caused damage to the army. Obviously he has seen hope. As a result, the natural elf empire personally ruined his hopes. At this moment, the image of the Dragon clan being slaughtered by those fallen angels even appeared in his mind. All of this was caused by the Queen of Nature elf, Grisette. If she hadn't betrayed her faith and betrayed the world, the forces of the three camps unite and have every hope of repelling this army of fallen angels. After all three of their clans possess artifacts. The artifact of the Nature Elf Empire is the Sun Elf Crown. The artifact of the Medusa Empire is the Poseidon Trident. The Dragon clan's artifact is the Dragon King's Heart. The so-called Heart of the Dragon King is actually a godhead transformed into an artifact, a true god from the Dragon clan. The power it releases can reach the level of a lower true god. Dragon King Angst is ready to use the Dragon King's Heart. The target he wanted to kill was the four-winged fallen angel that was hundreds of meters high. As for the Queen of Nature Elf and Queen Medusa, they only need to kill the other demigod-level fallen angels. As long as the three of them stick together, this war is not necessarily lost. But now, the actions of the Natural Elf Empire directly shattered Dragon King Angst's illusions, completely destroyed his plans, and put him in a desperate situation. He was naturally extremely angry. At the same time, Queen Medusa also looked at the army camp of the Natural Elf Empire with an angry and disbelieving look. In front of that army of elven airships was an extremely large war airship. The Nature Elf Queen Graced, as well as the senior officials and powerful men of the Nature Elf Empire, gathered on the deck of the war airship. In order to cope with this war, not only the Queen of Nature Spirits, Grisette, has arrived. She also brought all the high-ranking and powerful people under her empire. It can be said to be an all-out effort. However, her position is on the side of the Angel clan. Grist, why are you doing this? This is a question from Queen Medusa. She holds a dazzling golden Poseidon trident, and her golden snake hair is fluttering in the wind. She stood in the sky above the huge waves, looking at the Queen of Nature Elf, Grisette, who was tens of thousands of meters away. The Queen of Nature Elf was silent for a moment and said, I follow the oracle under the goddess's crown and embrace the sacred and the light. It is the destined fate of this world to be under the command of the holy light, and no one can resist it. Hear this. Queen Medusa and Dragon King Angost were immediately shocked. The Natural Elf Empire surrendered to the Paradise Kingdom. Is this an order from the goddess of nature and elf? How can this be? Shouldn't the floating island world be a place abandoned by gods? The thoughts and miracles of the true God cannot come to this world. The top leaders of all races are very aware of this matter. How could they know that the goddess of nature and elves not only came to this world, but also went to the holy city to meet the Lord of Holy Light of the angel clan? Shortly after the goddess of nature and elves returned to the battlefield of all realms, she conveyed the oracle to the empire of nature elves. That is to follow the angel clan and work hard. Serve the Lord of Light with all your heart. It was under such an oracle that the natural elf empire chose to give up resistance. Then the scene just now appeared. Since they are on the side of Heaven Kingdom, they naturally want to help the angel army win this war. The horn of war has sounded. The army of more than 5 million fallen angels was divided into two, heading towards the central Dragon Island and Queen Medusa's Sea Army and Sea Beast Army respectively. The army of the natural elf empire also followed the footsteps of the fallen angels. Killed the army of the Medusa Empire. Suddenly, the sound of war drums and shouts of death resounded throughout the world. 76%. Chapter 443 The Fierce War. Kajisha was the bravest and took the lead in rushing into the dragon army's camp. Her size is more than 100 meters tall, and she is not far behind even when facing an adult dragon. She was seen wielding the dozens of meters long fallen angel sword in her hand, and each sword could produce a huge sword light. Wherever the sword light passed, the mountains were cut into two halves. As for the giant dragon, it turned into two corpses. It can be said that no dragon can resist Kajusha, who is a super hell warrior. Not even a giant dragon with a demigod realm. On the contrary, to Kajisha, a giant dragon in the demigod realm is no different from a weak lizard. The combat power of the lower true god level can be said to be invincible on such a battlefield. Even the top experts holding artifacts are no match for her. Kajusha, who was combined into a super hell warrior, the angel armor on her body and the fallen angel sword in her hand, are equivalent to artifacts. He saw his people dying in Kajisha's hands in droves. Dragon King Angst couldn't help it anymore. As the strongest man and leader of the dragon clan, he has the obligation to stand up and protect his people at this time. Therefore, he stood in front of Kajusha. He transformed back into his true form, took out another bright golden gem, and swallowed it in one gulp. In an instant, a terrifying aura appeared on Dragon King Angst's body. This golden gem is the Dragon Clan's most precious treasure, the artifact level heart of the Dragon King. Infused with the powerful energy of the Dragon King's heart, Dragon King Angst's strength forcibly broke into the level of true gods, barely comparable to ordinary low-level true gods. Evil angel, bear the wrath of the dragon god. Dragon King Angst roared. Immediately afterwards, a hot dragon's breath was sprayed towards Kajisha. Kajisha saw it. Just kill it with a sword. The dazzling sword light cut the dragon's breath into two pieces. Without losing its force, he slashed straight at Dragon King Angst. This scene scared Dragon King Angst to the point of breaking out in cold sweat, and he immediately dodged. He roared at Kajusha. You have the courage to fight with me in the sky over the sea. After saying that, he flapped his dragon wings and flew towards the open sea in the distance. There were a large number of giant dragons and sub-dragon monsters on the battlefield. He felt that he couldn't let go, so he proposed to go to the open sea for a duel. Kajisha naturally had no reason to back down. The 4 fallen angel wings behind her shook slightly, and she followed. The 12 winged fallen angels on the battlefield saw this scene and did not say anything to stop it, nor were they worried at all. If they can't kill even a giant dragon in the mortal world, then they are not the super hell warriors of their fallen angel camp. After all, even the weakest super hell warriors were created to kill gods. The war soon became intense. The high-ranking fallen angels slaughtered everyone on the battlefield. Especially those 10 winged fallen angels riding the abyss dragon, and the 12 winged fallen angels who are all at the peak demigod level, they are simply the destroyers of the enemy camp. Wherever they did, a large number of enemies were torn into pieces by them. At the same time, the blood and soul origin were all devoured by them. Whether it is the blood and soul of giant dragons, sub-dragons, or sea beasts, the fallen angels will accept all comers and convert them into pure energy and incorporate them into their bodies. This is a shortcut for them to quickly improve their level. As the war continues, more and more giant dragons and sub-dragon monsters fell on the battlefield. The powerful army of fallen angels killed the proud dragons until they were almost frightened. The gap is really huge. Especially those sub-dragon monsters, they are just like cannon fodder. Although it has a scale of up to 3 million, it does not pose the slightest threat to the fallen angel army. Instead, it is slaughtered like an experienced baby. A sub-dragon monster that can be called a boss in front of professionals. But he was so weak and vulnerable in front of the fallen angels. Their corpses fell from the sky like heavy rain. In the blink of an eye, the land of Dragon Island below was dyed red. The other side. The Sea Army and Sea Beast Army headed by Queen Medusa were also bloodbathed by the fallen angel army. Countless fallen angels shook their wings and charged into the huge waves. The huge waves are the territory of the Sea Clan Army and the Sea Beast Army. It is their most powerful weapon against their enemies. In many wars, they do not even need to come into direct contact with the enemy. They can cause huge casualties to the enemy simply by using huge waves. They create the power of nature. However, this power still cannot threaten the fallen angel army. After all, angels are an air combat unit. The high-ranking fallen angels were not even afraid of the waves, and rushed into the huge waves to engage in an extremely shocking naval battle with the Sea Tribe and Sea Beasts. At the same time, the army of the Natural Elf Empire also came to kill them. They controlled more than 50,000 elven airships, bombarding the Sea Clan Army and Sea Beast Army, while standing on the deck to attack the Sea Clan warriors and Sea Beasts. The nature spirits did not rush into the waves. After all, their fighting power is not as strong as that of angels. Entering rashly will only make them a delicious meal for those sea beasts. It's not too late. In the distant sky, a towering white giant city slowly flew towards it. But he appeared above the battlefield in the blink of an eye. On top of the city wall, stood the handsome figure of Lin Yu, as well as the increasingly dazzling secretary and the Saint of Light, Tiffany, and others. 76%. Chapter 444 Smoke Dragon. The majestic city of angels crashed into the clouds and hung high in the sky. Lin Yu and others stood on the city wall, overlooking everything below. He saw the big melee on the central Dragon Island. I saw densely packed dragons and sub-dragon monsters rushing forward and falling to the bloody sword of the fallen angel. I saw the army of the Natural Elf Empire cooperating with the army of fallen angels, the sea warriors who madly slaughtered Queen Medusa, and countless sea beasts. I also saw the fight between the Dragon King Angst and the Super Hell Warrior Kajusha in the distant open sea. The overall war scene is quite shocking. It was much more shocking than the previous attack on the Orc King's capital. After all, those participating in this war are basically top-notch military units. There are angels, nature spirits, dragons, Medusa, and countless huge sea beasts. Scenes like this are not often seen. Lin Yu overlooked the battlefield on Central Dragon Island and said with a smile, "This is the first time I have seen so many types of dragons." The dragons on the battlefield can be said to be of all kinds. There are gold dragons and silver dragons with high status. There are 5-color evil dragons such as the famous Dark Dragon, Frost Dragon, and Flame Dragon. There are metal dragons such as Bronze Dragons and Brass Dragons that are huge and look like they are made of metal. There are also gem dragons such as Emerald Dragons, Sapphire Dragons, Diamond Dragons, etc. that look extremely dreamy and beautiful. These giant dragons of different types and shapes can be regarded as an eye-opener for Lin Yu. There are indeed many types of dragons. Angelia said. Like our angel clan, special dragons are also very rare. I looked at the entire battlefield and there are only 3 special dragon species. They are 2 space dragons and a smoke dragon. Smoke dragon. Lin Yu looked puzzled. He looked carefully at the battlefield below, and soon discovered the figure of this special dragon. It overall looks like a dragon-shaped smoke. Appears black-gray. It shuttled wantonly across the battlefield. The sword light from the fallen angels always passed through its body when slashing at it. Apart from taking away wisps of gray smoke, it didn't seem to hurt it at all. What special abilities does the smoke dragon have? To my lord, Angelia said respectfully. Smoke dragons are immune to attacks on the physical level. They have no physical dragon body, and they will not die even if their bodies are exploded. Its power can easily enter the enemy's body and destroy it from within. This kind of dragon is very rare and is also a nightmare for many creatures. In general, the smoke dragon is difficult to kill, and its attacks can make the enemy hard to guard against. Such a creature can indeed give people a headache. However, in Lin Yu's eyes, this smoke dragon is a good thing. You can capture it and study it carefully. With this in mind, Lin Yu took action without hesitation. He punched and shattered the space in front of him. Then he reached in. At the same time, on the battlefield on the central Dragon Island, a huge hand of law appeared out of thin air above the body of the smoke dragon. This smoke dragon is fighting the fallen angels without any scruples. The sudden appearance of the hand of law startled it. It sensed the terrifying aura contained in the hand of Law, and without saying a word, it self-destructed and turned into a piece of gray smoke that dissipated between heaven and earth. Have to say, this method of escape is really powerful. He was even more perverted than the Ghost Dragon Emperor, who was instantly killed by Victoria with one sword. Most people simply can't catch it. However, Lin Yu is obviously not an ordinary person. Under his control, time reversed in the area where the smoke dragon disappeared. The smoke dragon, which had escaped without a trace, was forcibly pulled back, and with a confused look on its face, it was grabbed by Lin Yu's hand of law and imprisoned. Lin Yu's hand of law contains more than 60 kinds of law origins with different attributes. This also includes time and space. In just an instant, the time and space around the smoke dragon was sealed. Even if it self-destructs again and again, it cannot escape Lin Yu's grasp. Soon, it appeared in front of Lin Yu. A look of malaise and despair. It knew it was wrong. Whether it was the human who caught it or the 12-winged holy angel standing next to it, the aura exuding from it was so powerful that it felt frightened. It's like a mortal meeting a god. The gap is too big to contend with. Be good, or I'll kill you. While speaking, Lin Yu punched a mark into the smoke dragon's body. Soon, the soul of the smoke dragon was controlled by him. During this process, the smoke dragon struggled instinctively, but could not resist, and could only let Lin Yu control its soul. It went very smoothly, and the smoke dragon became Lin Yu's second dragon pet. The first dragon pet is the fairy dragon Nasha. She is currently fighting on the floating island in another world with the elf queen Bernina. Owner. After the confinement is lifted, the smoke dragon prostrated obediently in front of Lin Yu, extremely obedient and obedient. Its essence is also fully revealed. The body length is only about 50 meters, which is at least 3 times smaller than the 5-color evil dragon that is also at the demigod level. Its whole body is densely covered with shining scales, and it looks very mysterious. Lin Yu nodded slightly, then let it return to the battlefield. Prepare to study it carefully after the war is over. An inexplicable feeling told him that the ability of this smoke dragon would be very helpful to him. 76%. Chapter 445. Sure enough, it depends on the background when you come out. After catching the smoke dragon, Lin Yu didn't take action again. Angelia also took no part in the war below. Killing didn't mean much to either of them. As a lord professional, Lin Yu can obtain original energy rewards by killing enemies through his armies, even if he does not personally participate in the battle. Since Lin Yu was promoted to the late stage of demigod, all the original energy he obtained was suppressed in his body using the power of creation. Thanks to the help of the power of creation. Without this supreme power, his realm would have been broken by the huge source energy in his body. Even if he didn't want to light the divine fire, he couldn't help it. With the power of creation, he can fully improve his foundation before igniting the divine fire. When he becomes a god in the future, he will definitely be able to soar into the sky. As for Angelia, she is already a peak demigod. Accessing source energy is equally unhelpful. Therefore, both of them just watched the battle quietly. However, for the strong men of the dragon and sea camps on the battlefield, Lin Yu and Angelia, even if they do not participate in the battle, are enough to bring huge pressure to them. Especially Lin Yu. He grabbed the smoke dragon with one hand. This scene can frighten the strong men of the giant dragon clan. You must know that the smoke dragon is a special dragon at the demigod level. Its strength and abilities are so weird that even the Dragon King Angst, who possesses the heart of the Dragon King, can't do anything with it. In the entire dragon clan, the smoke dragon is an extremely special existence. And he has the identity of an elder of the dragon clan. As a result, it was done in one move. And in the end, he became Lin Yu's dragon pet. After rejoining the battlefield, he helped the fallen angel army suppress the giant dragons and sub-dragon monsters on the battlefield. This was a huge blow to the morale of the Dragon Legion. Of course, the most important thing is the appearance of City of Angels. Medium-sized City of Angels, 180,000 meters in length and breadth, is incredibly huge. It is suspended in the sky above the battlefield, like an unattainable divine city that presses on the hearts of all the powerful dragon and sea tribes. Such a giant war city, let alone attacking them, even if it just fell from the sky, it would be enough to crush them all to death. The appearance of Angel City brought huge panic to the dragon and sea warriors on the battlefield. It also made them more desperate. Just when the war was heating up, Island Chat Channel has also become very lively. The news that the fallen angel army attacked the central dragon island was spread to the chat channel, and there were also kingdom professionals who brought so-called frontline information. Of course, no kingdom professionals will participate in this war, because their level is too low. Most of them are mid-level professionals, and a few are high-level professionals. As for professionals who have reached the king level, no one has appeared so far, whether it is a combat profession or a lord profession, except for Lin Yu. With their current strength, they can only compete with the foreign professionals from the floating island in another world. If it were a regular army of local forces, they would be cannon fodder. Only a few sub-dragon monsters are enough to kill 7 in their camp, let alone the top local creatures such as dragons and medusas on the battlefield. The reason why they were able to get frontline news was because they happened to be on a nearby island. Because of the sheer scale of this war, they were able to peek even from a long distance away. The war has begun, brothers. Boss Lin Yu's army of fallen angels is so powerful. While suppressing the Dragon Clan Legion of the Central Island Dragon, they are also frantically slaughtering those Sea Clan. They are simply invincible. I saw a fallen angel that was more than 100 meters tall, pressing a huge golden dragon into the sky and beating it violently. According to my speculation, that golden dragon should be the leader of the Dragon Clan. The Natural Elf Empire also joins the war. This is a grand battle between the 4 superpowers. However, it seems that the Natural Elf Empire is not here to help the Dragon Clan, but is joining forces with the Fallen Angel Army to eliminate the Sea Clan Army and Sea Beast Army under Queen Medusa. Real or fake? Has the Natural Elf Empire, like the Holy Sea of Light, surrendered to Boss Lin Yu early? Although it is hard to believe, it should be true. Damn it, Boss Lin Yu is so awesome. Even the powerful Natural Elf Empire surrendered without a fight. Do you know what the name of the Queen of Nature Elf is? Graced. Before the war started, I heard the roars of the Dragon King and Queen Medusa, asking the Queen of Nature Elf why she betrayed them. In the end, what do you think the Queen of Nature Elf answered? She said this was an oracle from the goddess of nature and elves. How can this be? Isn't the goddess of nature and elves the supreme deity on the battlefield of all realms? Why would you pay attention to the war in a small floating island world? This has to mention the identity of Boss Lin Yu. According to the Illuminati believers, Boss Lin Yu is the Lord of Holy Light of the Angel Clan and the founder of the Holy and Light Camp. His status is incredibly high. It is said that in the world of gods, the most important thing is personality. Based on Mr. Lin Yu's status, even if a true god appears, he still has to call Mr. Lin Yu His Majesty, otherwise it would be disrespectful and an enemy of the entire Holy and Bright Camp. If it is true, this identity alone makes him invincible. Sure enough, you still have to look at the background when you come out to hang out. 77%. Chapter 446 Cisna, your persistence is meaningless. The battle continued into the afternoon. The Dragon Army and Sub-Dragon Army on the Central Dragon Island were defeated first. This is because the Dragon King Angst they were loyal to was suppressed by the Super Hell Warrior Kajisha. Dragon King Angst has fully unleashed the power of the artifact, Dragon King's Heart, but he is still no match for the Super Hell Warrior Kajisha. Its dragon body was pierced by the sword of the fallen angel. The artifact inside the body, the heart of the Dragon King, was forcibly stripped out by Kajisha. In the end, Angost, who lost the heart of the Dragon King, was beheaded by Kajusha on the spot. Until death, it did not surrender. Of course, Kajisha didn't give it a chance to surrender. After killing Dragon King Angost, Kajusha sealed Angost's body and soul, preparing to take them back to cultivate other fallen angels. Ever since Victoria came to the floating island world, the fallen angels under Lin Yu began to train Super Hell warriors with all their strength. Kajusha was the first, but not the last one. As the war continues, more and more Super Hell soldiers will appear. Of course, when the number reaches a certain level, these Super Hell warriors will continue to fuse and become higher-level Super Hell warriors. Just like Kajisha, her current energy angel heart level is low. The combat power is comparable to that of the lower true gods. Once integrated with the other 9 Super Hell warriors of the same level, her energy angel heart can be upgraded to the intermediate level, and her combat power is comparable to that of a mid-level true god. The Super Hell warriors developed by the 18-winged fallen archangel Astia are the most powerful and can rival the Lord God who possesses great divine power. And with the death of Dragon King Angst, the morale of the dragon army suddenly fell to the bottom. There were many giant dragons and sub-dragon monsters who couldn't hold on and chose to lower their heads. There are also diehards who say that even if they die on the battlefield, they will not betray the dragon god they believe in, let alone give up the dignity and glory of being a dragon. For these die-hard elements, the fallen angel army's approach is to kill. Kill them until they collapse. Kill them until they are afraid. Kill them until they surrender in despair. Compared to holy angels, fallen angels are more ruthless and cruel. Even the famous giant monsters in the underworld are just playthings in their hands, let alone the intelligent races in the mortal world. As a highly intelligent species, the dragons are no different from ants in their eyes. According to incomplete statistics, after the war on Central Dragon Island ended, a total of about 400,000 giant dragons and nearly 1.6 million sub-dragon monsters surrendered and chose to surrender to the kingdom of heaven. As for the others, they all fell on the battlefield. And this also means that the Dragon Clan forces were conquered by the Angel Kingdom. The 36 islands in the bay will also be included in the ruling area of Paradise Kingdom. The Edge of the Sea Clan. Under the orders of the Medusa clan, the huge sea army and the sea beast army have been very tenacious in resisting the attacks of the fallen angel army and the natural elf empire. Even a nearby island was hit and sunk, but they did not surrender. That's because Queen Medusa keeps insisting. She was unwilling to bow her head to the Heaven Kingdom. Under the influence of the artifact in her hand, the Poseidon Trident, the Sea Clan army and Sea Beast army were unable to surrender. Their wills were controlled by the Poseidon Trident. Cisna, your persistence is meaningless. These words came from the Queen of Nature elf, Grisette. She also joined the war. Cooperate with 212-winged fallen angels to besiege Queen Medusa. The battlefield was littered with Medusas and the corpses of strong men from the Sea tribe. Before that, there were at least hundreds of strong men from the Sea clan killed by the three of them. Among them are many demigod-level sea people. The great elder of the empire who had been accompanying Queen Medusa also died. She was also a strong person at the peak level of demigod. She was beheaded by a 12-winged fallen angel who participated in the battle, and her body was devoured into a mummy. On this battlefield of top experts, only Queen Medusa is left. She holds the golden trident of Poseidon. The golden snake hair flutters in the wind. She has a proud figure and a beautiful face. A stream of blood overflowed from the corner of his mouth, which looked even more poignant when paired with his slightly pale cheeks. However, her expression remained cold. The golden vertical pupils showed no fear when looking at the Queen of Nature elf and the two 12-winged fallen angels. She was mentally prepared to die. Surrender. Queen Grace of the Nature elf said, "This may be your last chance. Although you are brave and fearless, can you watch the Medusa family be destroyed? Your persistence will not only ruin yourself and your tribe, and those sea tribes who are loyal to you." Hearing this, Queen Medusa Cisna said expressionlessly, "Grista, I am different from you. My Medusa family is a race cursed by the gods. Life is more painful than death. There are legends about the Medusa family, and the Queen of Nature elf has also heard of them. The Lord of Holy Light possesses a power that even the supreme gods cannot contend with. Removing your racial curse shouldn't be a problem if he's willing. The premise is that your Medusa family can get the favor of the Lord of Holy Light." Hearing this, Queen Medusa Cisna was stunned. She seemed to have never thought about this question. 77%. Chapter 447 The Tragic Medusa Clan. In Greek mythology, Medusa is not a race, but a personal name. Her father was Phorcys, a primitive sea god who was known as the father of all monsters. Grandmother is the earth goddess Gaia who created the Olympus world. Interestingly, Medusa in Greek mythology is also called the Gorgon. She has a very terrifying ability, that is, anyone who looks into her eyes will be turned to stone. Even the Greek gods couldn't resist. Medusa's fate was very tragic. She was originally a beautiful girl, but she was raped by Poseidon, the god of the sea. Later, he was beheaded by the hero, Perseus, and his head was cut off and presented to Athena, the goddess of war and wisdom. Finally, it was embedded in Athena's aegis. Medusa on the floating island also has the ability to petrify enemies. They are also called Gorgons. The notoriety on the sea exceeds that of mermaids who can charm humans. The difference is, the Medusas of the floating island are a race. They were not originally half human and half snake like they are now. They are cursed. According to legend, the ancestor of the Medusa family was a very powerful sea god, but unlike the famous sea goddess, the sea goddess was the attribute god of the goddess of nature and elves. The ancestor of the Medusa family is a main god of the ocean with an independent god. To put it simply, there is no backstage support. There are rumors that the ancestors of the Medusa family offended the cursed goddess, the supreme god, and therefore suffered a terrible blood curse. There are also rumors that the cursed goddess is jealous of the beauty of the ancestors of the Medusa family. But whatever the reason, the Medusa family is indeed cursed by their bloodline. This curse has always affected the Medusa family, not only turning them into half-human, half-snake sea monsters, but also cutting off their path to becoming gods. Yes, the Medusa family cannot become gods. Even if Medusa, no matter how talented she is, successfully enters the battlefield of all realms, they cannot condense their divine power. If it is forcibly condensed, the godhead will explode the moment it takes shape. Medusa died violently. Compared with other intelligent races, the Medusa family not only does not have its own god of faith, but also does not have the protection of the true god of the race. They are a completely abandoned race. Compared with the dark elves who abandoned their race for gods, they will also receive the care of the true god of their race when they reach the battlefield of all realms. But the Medusa family did not. Because their race does not have a true god. After the ancestors of the Medusa family, no Medusa has become a god. In the extraordinary world, the fate of a race that cannot become gods can be imagined. Compared with Medusa in Greek mythology, the Medusa family in the floating island world is even more tragic. Ask the Lord of Holy Light to lift the blood curse of our race. Queen Medusa Cisna instantly fell silent after hearing the words of the Queen of Nature elf. Her inner world was in turmoil. The constant persistence also wavered. If the Lord of Holy Light can really help them, their Medusa family will be able to have a future of their own. In comparison, becoming a believer in the Lord of Holy Light is just a trivial matter. But the problem is the Lord of Holy Light really willing to help them? After all, they are Gorgons, an evil race cursed by the Supreme God. Looking at the battlefields of all realms, there are so many supreme gods, but no one is willing to help their Medusa family, even if their ancestors gave everything. Just at this time, the nature elf Queen Grace added, I don't know if Your Majesty the Lord of Holy Light will favor you, but what I know is that Your Majesty the Lord of Holy Light has a higher status than the goddess of curse. If there is anyone in the universe who can lift the curse for you, then he must be the Lord of Holy Light. The hope of breaking the curse is just around the corner. It depends on whether you can catch it. Hearing this, Queen Medusa Cisna's body suddenly trembled. Hope is a very luxurious word for the Medusa clan. For tens of millions of years, they have never truly embraced hope. The racial talent of the Medusa family is very high. Throughout the ages, the strongest demigods of the Medusa family have gone to the battlefields of all realms to find hope of breaking the curse. But until now, the curse still hangs over them. After so many years, they have become accustomed to eating and waiting to die in the depths of the ocean. But now, the sudden words of the Queen of Nature elf seemed to open a new door for Queen Medusa in an instant. It seemed that they still had a chance to see the world behind the door. I see. I am willing to surrender. I am willing to lead my Medusa clan and all the sea clans to believe in the great Lord of Holy Light. Medusa Queen Cisna's mentality changed quickly. While waving the dazzling golden Poseidon trident in her hand, she said like a prayer, I only hope that the merciful Lord of Holy Light can have mercy on us. As soon as the words fell, all the sea warriors on the battlefield put down their weapons. The densely packed sea beasts also lowered their heads and crawled in the huge waves. The war that was originally fierce ended in an instant. 77%. Chapter 448 Cursed Goddess Cleedle. The war ended so suddenly that even Lin Yu felt a little surprised. Unexpectedly, just a few words from the Queen of Nature elf made Medusa Queen Cisna surrender. It's actually a bit dramatic. He thought the war would continue for a few more hours, until the Sea Tribe army and the Sea Beast army were completely torn apart and caused huge casualties to the Medusa Empire. Only then would the Sea Tribes led by Queen Medusa see the reality clearly. Lin Yu looked at the elegant and beautiful secretary and, what is the blood curse of the Medusa family? Did you know? Angelia shook her head and said, to my lord, the appearance of the Medusa clan should be after the end of the Holy Demon War. At that time, we had already evacuated from the battlefield of the world. In fact, even if they don't evacuate, the small Medusa clan is not worthy of the angel clan's attention. After all, his ancestor was just a main god. If it were the supreme god, the angel family would pay a lot of attention. Just at this time, Angelia added, I do feel a cursed power in Queen Medusa's bloodline, like gangrene attached to the bones, integrated into their racial inheritance genes. This curse will continue to be passed on and replicated as the race's bloodline is passed on. It has not disappeared even in the past tens of millions of years. With the help of the thread of fate wrapped around the power of the curse, I saw the figure of the curse goddess. I can confirm that the curse of the Medusa family was indeed imposed by the curse goddess. The cursed goddess. Lin Yu looked puzzled. Angelia explained. The real name of the cursed goddess is Cletal. She is a supreme god who has surpassed the level of the main god and is the supreme ruler of the entire cursed pantheon. The cursed pantheon belongs to the camp of the evil pantheon. Forged an alliance with the evil gods such as the destruction god, the dark god, the undead god, etc. In terms of camp relationships, the curse god system is a hostile force against our holy and light camp. However, the curse goddess only dares to go against the supreme gods such as the goddess of light and the goddess of sun glory. She doesn't dare to provoke our angel clan. The goddess of light, the goddess of sun radiance, the goddess of moonlight and hunting, etc. are all the supreme gods under the angel clan. They have a very high degree of freedom and their own gods. If you compare the angel clan to an empire, then the sacred and light system headed by the goddess of light, the goddess of sun radiance and other supreme gods are the kingdom-level forces under this empire. They have independent theocratic governing authority. But he also accepted the orders of the angel clan. The angel clan headed by the Lord of Holy Light is at a higher level. Generally speaking, the angel clan will not interfere in the struggle between the subordinate pantheon and the pantheon of other camps. After all, struggles happen everywhere. Even among the 718 winged archangels who came from the same angel reincarnation pool, there were fights and disagreements, let alone gods from different camps. I can't manage it even if I want to. The goddess of curse is also very clear about this. Therefore, whether the supreme deity of the evil pantheon like her should fight with the goddess of light and others, as long as she does not provoke the angel clan. This is the epitome of some of the power relationships in the battlefield of all realms tens of millions of years ago. After hearing what Angelia said, Lin Yu also once again realized the power of the angel clan. Lin Yu asked, so, is there a way to lift the blood curse of the Medusa family? With our current strength, if it really doesn't work, it doesn't matter if we wait until we reach the battlefield of the world and find a way to lift it. After all, the source of the curse is a supreme god. And it's not a friendly unit. A little difficulty is normal. Secretary and smiled and said, my lord, don't worry. It's just a small bloodline curse. The solution is very simple. I will use the power of fate to communicate with the curse goddess later. I believe she will give our angel family some face. The reason why I say it is to give face to the angel family, not to give face to the Lord of Holy Light. It's because the cursed goddess hasn't reached that level yet. Looking at all the worlds in the universe, which supreme god dares to claim that he can give face to the Holy Light? Even the Titan god King Clovis, who inherited the direct bloodline of the Titans, did not dare to do so. Only the descendants of his ancestors could qualify. Then I'll leave this matter to you. Lin Yu sympathized with the tragic fate of the Medusa family. It would be best if it can be solved. Moreover, in the future, the Medusa family will also be his believers. He, the god of faith, has an obligation to solve problems for his believers. Thinking of this, Lin Yu took Angelia's soft little hand and rubbed it hard. This secretary is really useful. I can go to the hall and enter the bathroom. He decided that he would work harder in the future, be selfless and dedicated. Try to help secretary and improve her status as soon as possible. 77%. Chapter 449. Don't worry, it's just a small matter. Supreme Creator. Following your oracle, we have successfully conquered the Dragon Clan. On the walls of the City of Angels, a group of 12 winged fallen angels knelt down in front of Lin Yu with great respect. The Queen of Nature Elf and Queen Medusa also knelt down and worshipped on the ground. They also brought their empire's top officials and strong men of their own clan, and solemnly swore to join the Paradise Kingdom and become an affiliated force under Lin Yu's command. Since then, Lin Yu has conquered 5 empire-level forces in the surface world alone. They are Orc Royal Court, Bright Holy Sea, Dragon Clan, Natural Elf Empire, and Medusa Empire. One of the prerequisites for becoming the lord of an island has been completed. The rest is just waiting for the 36 islands in the Gulf, as well as the wild monsters and other local power strongholds in the Far East, to be wiped out, so that he can become the owner of the island in one fell swoop. This job is not troublesome. There is an army of fallen angels, plus the cooperation of the Natural Elf Empire. Basically, it only takes 1 to 2 days to complete. In other words, 2 more days at most. Lin Yu can realize her original dream after landing on this floating island. This is something worth celebrating. Immediately, Lin Yu issued an order to the 12-winged fallen angels present to continue clearing other islands in this sea area. During this process, the Queen of Nature Elf and Queen Medusa also looked in awe. Especially Queen Medusa, who was in awe and shock. She had already learned from the Nature Elf Queen Grace that the ruler of the heavenly kingdom was the incarnation of the Lord of Holy Light, the human young man in front of her. This is not the speculation of the Queen of Nature spirits, but it was confirmed by the goddess of nature and spirits. Queen Medusa did not expect that one day she would be able to see the Lord of Holy Light of the angel clan with her own eyes. And he also took refuge in the Lord of Holy Light. About to become a believer in the Holy Light. It made her feel as if she was in a dream, a bit unrealistic. After all, the Lord of Holy Light was a mythical existence tens of millions of years ago, and once dominated the universe. Even the ancestor of their Medusa family can only be regarded as a small main god in front of the Lord of Holy Light. Although the Lord of Holy Light, at this time is only in the late stage of demigods. However, the aura emanating from his body was still like an unattainable sacred mountain, making her instinctively look up and revere him. Just the title of Lord of Holy Light was enough to make her infinitely awe-inspiring. After the 12-winged fallen angels retreated, Lin Yu set his sights on the Queen of Nature Elf and Queen Medusa. The two queens were both extremely beautiful and had impressive figures. Especially Queen Medusa, with a head full of golden snake hair and a thick and long golden snake tail, giving her a very seductive alternative beauty. When he was an ordinary person, Lin Yu was afraid of snakes. But now, seeing the beautiful snake, Queen Medusa, he was not afraid at all. As for the Queen of Nature spirits, I don't know if it's because Lin Yu has already seen a more perfect goddess of nature and elves, so he always feels that there is something missing in the Queen of Nature and elves. Well, it's the temperament. In terms of appearance alone, the Queen of Nature elf is not bad. But in terms of temperament, she is far inferior to the goddess of nature and elves. But in this floating island world, the Queen of Nature elf is already extremely brilliant. Far better than Elf Queen Bernina, Saint of Light Tiffany and others. Lin Yu said to the two queens, "Graced, you led your elven army back to the Far East and prepare for war. Cisna, you return to the deep sea and move your people to the offshore. From now on, your sea tribe will breed in the coastal waters. Communicate more with the races on land and make this world more prosperous. Follow your will, great Lord of Holy Light." Both queens obeyed their orders respectfully. At this time, Queen Medusa Cisna handed Lin Yu the artifact, the Trident of Poseidon, which represented the ruling authority of the Sea Clan, which meant their Sea Clan's absolute loyalty to Lin Yu. Then, she pressed her head against the ground again. "I would like to give my highest tribute to Lin Yu." With a trembling voice, she told about the tragic fate of the Medusa family, begging Lin Yu to take care of her and show mercy to the Medusa family. "The great Lord of Holy Light, it would be an honor for our entire Medusa family to receive your blessing. Get up." Lin Yu raised his hand and said, "Don't worry, this is just a small matter. Soon, the blood curse that has enveloped your tribe will disappear." Hear this. Medusa Queen Cisna was so excited that her whole body trembled. The senior Medusa officials and powerful men behind her were also excited and ecstatic. This is a promise from the Lord of Holy Light. After tens of millions of years, the Medusa family finally ushered in the light. Praise be to you, great and merciful Lord. If they had known that the Lord of Holy Light of the Angel clan had come to this world and was willing to help the Medusa clan remove the blood curse, they would have surrendered long ago. Why did he lead the Sea Clan army and Sea Beast army to help the Dragon clan? But no matter what, the ending is happy. The great Lord of Holy Light gives them hope. 77%. Chapter 450 Poseidon Trident, Silver Dragon Princess. Lin Yu glanced at the information about Poseidon Trident. This is a top-notch true artifact. In terms of grade, it is the same as the Holy Sword of Light he gave to the Holy Light Elemental Elf Lilith. The difference is, the Holy Sword of Light mainly attacks and kills. The main ability of the Poseidon Trident is to control sea tribes and sea beasts, and its own killing power is not very strong. Lin Yu didn't like an artifact of this level. This is true because his vision has been infinitely lifted by the super artifact, Super Source Scepter. Even the divine armor of holy glory he wears as a top-grade true artifact. How can one see a low-grade true artifact? He has more than 20 artifacts like this on him. We haven't found an opportunity or a suitable candidate to reward him yet. So in the end, Lin Yu returned the Poseidon Trident to Queen Medusa Cisna. With this artifact in hand, Queen Medusa can better manage the sea clan and those less intelligent sea beasts for him. Before leaving, Lin Yu summoned the surviving senior leaders and strong men of the dragon clan. In front of them, the new generation dragon king of the giant dragon clan was decided. Most of the dragons thought that the new generation of dragon king would be the smoke dragon that was surrendered by Lin Yu himself. Not only is it Lin Yu's dragon pet, but it is also very powerful. In addition, it is an ultra-rare dragon species, sufficient for the position of dragon king. The only disadvantage is that it is neither a gold dragon nor a silver dragon. In the dragon clan, the golden dragon and the silver dragon are the royal family and have the qualifications to inherit the throne of the dragon king. But now, the giant dragon clan has become an affiliated force of Paradise Kingdom, and all the giant dragons have been defeated and surrendered. Even if Lin Yu makes the smoke dragon become the dragon king, they do not dare to object. However, Lin Yu's final decision surprised them. He did not hand over the position of dragon king to the smoke dragon. Instead, it was given to a silver dragon. This is a small female dragon, guarded by a group of adult silver dragons in the middle. Her identity is quite special. She is the daughter of the leader of the Silver Dragon clan, and is called the Silver Dragon Princess. Her father did not die in the battle, but was severely wounded. Lin Yu made Princess Silver Dragon the new Dragon Emperor for a very pure reason: she looks good. The Silver Dragon Princess transformed into a human form and was extremely beautiful. From now on you will be the Dragon King of the Dragon Clan. Lin Yu looked at the beautiful little female dragon in front of him and said, after the order of the Dragon Clan is restored, you can go and settle in my sacred city. Obey your oracle, the great Lord of Holy Light. Princess Silver Dragon wears a long dress of gold and silver. She looks like a girl, but she has an excellent figure and a curvy figure. She knelt down in front of Lin Yu like a believer, revealing her perfect body curves, her long silver hair falling vertically, and her respectful expression showing a hint of excitement. She did not expect to suddenly become the ruler of the Dragon Clan. After all, her father is not dead yet. In terms of strength, she is just a giant dragon at the saint level. Going to live in that sacred city was beyond her expectations. She knew that this was the Lord of Holy Light's special care for her. When she arrives in the holy city, she must serve the great Lord of Holy Light and obey the orders of the Lord of Holy Light, just like Tiffany, the Saint of Light, who stands behind the Lord of Holy Light. This is her chance. Once you catch it, it will be very simple to become a god in the future. Then, Lin Yu took out another affiliated city building drawing. Build an auxiliary city on the central Dragon Island. With this affiliated city, teleporting from the Dark Forest to the central Dragon Island is a matter of seconds, and it is also more convenient for Paradise Kingdom to manage the Dragon Clan. At the same time, Lin Yu gave the Queen of Nature Elf and Queen Medusa two affiliated city building drawings respectively, and gave them the authority to build the city. Wait until the Queen of Nature Elf builds the city. Lin Yu doesn't need to use the City of Heaven if he wants to go to the Elf Holy Land. Affiliated city is a good thing. It can help Lin Yu rule the world more directly. No matter which area has a problem, as long as there is an affiliated city in that area, Lin Yu's Angel Army and Kingdom Army can use the teleportation array to teleport there immediately. At the same time, the existence of auxiliary cities can also intimidate these native races. The most important is, each of the attached cities has a statue of Lin Yu. Under the influence of the Paradise Angel, the native residents who settled in the city would soon become his followers. Let's talk about a very exaggerated figure. With the Land of Fertility, the Dragon Clan, the Medusa Empire, and the Nature Elf Empire surrendering one after another, the number of people under Lin Yu's command has reached more than 1 billion. Among them, about half of the people are from the Land of Plenty. Lin Yu's followers also jumped to over 300 million. Likewise, most are Illuminati cultists from the Land of Plenty. After the Holy Sea of Light officially surrendered, all the power of faith of the Illuminati believers was concentrated on Lin Yu. There are over 300 million believers, which is a very scary number. Now, Lin Yu is able to collect huge power of faith every moment, which lays a solid foundation for him to become a powerful god of faith. 77%. Chapter 451 Our Role Model. Look across the universe. Can't say absolutely. There are probably some special beings who can master the power of faith at the demigod level. However, in terms of the speed of accepting believers, those creatures will most likely not be able to match Lin Yu. After all, it has only been half a month since Lin Yu came into contact with the power of faith. The number of believers under his command has exceeded 300 million. This kind of thing would be unbelievable even to gods. A demigod has hundreds of millions of followers in a short period of time. It can be said to be unprecedented. The most important is, the number of Lin Yu's followers is still increasing day by day. It won't take long for all the more than 1 billion people in the kingdom under his command to become his believers and collectively provide him with the power of faith. This is very scary. And this all depends on Lin Yu's identity as the Lord of Holy Light. If he was not the god of faith of the angel clan, he would not have achieved what he has achieved now. As long as his unit is not an angel, he will most likely be like other Lord professionals, staying in a corner of the dark forest and growing up. Where can we conquer the entire floating island world like now? It can only be said that some people's fate is doomed from the beginning. After returning to the sacred city, Lin Yu then allowed Tiffany, the Saint of Light, and others to move freely. And he took Angelia into the city lord's palace to study the secrets of the law. He is about to become the lord of an island, and the door to the battlefield of all realms will also open. He needs to understand and master more of the origins of laws. Otherwise, how can one become a powerful god in one fell swoop? What if he only gets the status of a middle god after becoming a god, and secretaries and legion commanders like Angelia and Victoria who have mastered the origins of hundreds of laws will become upper gods or even main gods in one fell swoop? How embarrassing for him. In Lin Yu's view, even he can't catch up with Angelia and Victoria. At least it can't be too different. Just when Lin Yu was pulling secretary and to communicate hard and study the truth that evil eels will eventually catch up with them, the island chat channel became agitated again. News of the end of the war has spread to the chat channel. The result shocked all professionals. Latest news, the war on Dragon Island is over. The Dragon Clan and the Medusa Empire all bowed their heads to boss Lin Yu and became affiliated forces under the Kingdom of Heaven. Coupled with the support of the Natural Elf Empire, boss Lin Yu has basically conquered the entire floating island world. I can only say that boss Lin Yu's army of fallen angels is too powerful. Even without the help of the Natural Elf Empire, the fallen angel army is enough to sweep away the Dragon Clan and the Medusa Empire's army. This is normal. After all, he is a fallen angel who is more powerful than the holy angel. Blackening is 3 points stronger. The ancients sincerely don't deceive me. According to my statistics, the total size of the angel army under Lin Yu's command should have exceeded 20 million. So many. There are more than 10 million people on the floating island in the different world, more than 6 million people in the fertile land, plus 5 or 6 million fallen angels on the Dragon Island, which makes the scale well over 20 million. The speed at which boss Lin Yu summons angels is so terrifying. It won't take long before the number of angels from boss Lin Yu alone will exceed the total number of our professionals. This is too strong. In a few days, boss Lin Yu should ascend to the position of island leader. Envious. What I envy is not that Mr. Lin Yu has become the owner of the island. What I envy is that the Queen of Nature Elf and Queen Medusa are now Mr. Lin Yu's people. Tisk tisk. Power, strength, beauty. Big brother Lin Yu has it all. A role model for our generation. Everyone, don't be envious. Hurry up and join the Kingdom of Heaven and follow boss Lin Yu. That's the most important thing. Especially for professionals located in the Far East, boss Lin Yu's angel army will be there to clear them out soon. If you join earlier, you will have less to worry about. With Lin Yu's current status, he shouldn't attack as professionals anymore, right? After all, he is about to become the island owner. Is it important whether or not you start? When Mr. Lin Yu becomes the island owner and opens the way to the battlefield of all realms, it will be basically impossible for professionals who do not join the Paradise Kingdom to go. Just like going to the floating island in another world to fight with those little days and sticks, only professionals in the Paradise Kingdom are qualified to borrow the time and space channel. Remember, you can only become a god by going to the battlefield of all realms. Joining the Kingdom of Heaven is equivalent to getting a ticket that opens the door to becoming a god. Some people always focus on their own immediate interests, but never thought that without the efforts of Mr. Lin Yu and the Angel Army, we would have to wait until the year of the monkey and the month of the horse to enter the battlefield of the world. Those veteran professionals from a year ago have not yet conquered their floating island. +1 for agreeing. In fact, the vast majority of professionals have already seen the reality clearly. Only by following Lin Yu can they have a future. When they learned that the Dragon Island War was over and the Kingdom of Paradise had won a great victory, there was once again a wave of people joining the Kingdom of Paradise on the island. In just a few moments, tens of millions of professionals from all major regions applied to join the Kingdom of Heaven. So far, the number of kingdom professionals under Lin Yu has exceeded 30 million. More than half of the professionals on the island became his subjects. And as time goes by, the number of professionals joining is increasing. Some people want to join but can't. For example, the Golden Lord Behemoth is struggling to survive in the Lenkel Prairie. In the past 2 days, he had suffered a lot. If it weren't for a little better luck, everyone would be in trouble. 78%. Chapter 452. Long time no see, Claytel. The battlefield of all realms. The vast depths of the void. There is a ball of light entangled with silk threads of various colors such as black, blood red, gray, etc. suspended in the air. This ball of light has a diameter of hundreds of billions of kilometers. It's so big that it's unimaginable. You know, the floating island world where Lin Yu lives is only tens of thousands of kilometers in diameter. Compared to this ball of light, the floating island world can be said to be pitifully small. And this ball of light is the supreme divine realm of the curse goddess Cleetal. The countless colorful threads wrapped around the surface of the divine realm are various curse techniques. Whenever an enemy dares to invade this divine realm, they will first be counterattacked by the curse of the divine realm. Under normal circumstances, there is no need for the curse goddess Cleetal to take action personally. Those curse threads are enough to inflict a heavy blow on the enemy. This divine realm has been run by the cursed goddess Claytel for hundreds of millions of years. The power of its curse is so strong. It can even make the supreme gods walk around without food. Throughout the universe, the cursed goddess Cleetal is also a supreme god with terrifying powers. And the cursed power she possesses will make enemies dare not approach easily. But today, an alien figure arrived in the cursed god realm. This figure did not cross the time and space barrier of the god realm, but came directly with the help of the illusory thread of fate, and appeared in front of the cursed goddess Cleetal. Inside the towering temple, the cursed goddess Claytel, who is wearing a black and gold dress, is practicing with her eyes closed. Although she is the supreme god, standing at the pinnacle of the universe, she still strives to make progress, hoping to break through the shackles and become a terrifying existence comparable to the Lord of Holy Light of the Angel clan. The Lord of Holy Light is also the target that all the supreme gods want to pursue. Just at this time, she seemed to sense something. A pair of golden eyes with countless black threads suddenly opened. Looking at the empty time and space in front of me, I waited quietly. After a moment, an illusory figure walked out of time and space. She was wearing a white gold magic dress, with a beautiful face, elegant and noble temperament, and her whole body exuded bright holy light, with 18 shining angel wings behind her. Seeing this figure, the expression of curse goddess Clyte suddenly changed. There was a hint of horror in his pupils. Angelia. She took a deep breath and breathed out the true name of a god. Angelia, the most powerful 18-winged archangel under the Lord of Holy Light, once defeated 3 void demon ancestors in a single fight during the Holy Demon War tens of millions of years ago. How could she not recognize such a supreme god? Although tens of millions of years have passed, she clearly remembers that the most famous signature ability of the 18-winged archangel Angelia is the Sword of Destiny. A slash of the sword can severely injure the supreme god across infinite distances of time and space. Some supreme gods once claimed that the 18-winged archangel Angelia has surpassed the famous goddess of destiny in the field of the supreme law of destiny. Only the twin god kings joining forces can rival this 18-winged archangel. The twin god kings are the 2 sisters, the goddess of fate and the goddess of luck, Helen Green. Although their camp is not strong, few gods dare to provoke them. Long time no see, Cleetal. Secretary and raised his eyes slightly and looked at the cursed goddess sitting on the throne with a faint smile. Tens of millions of years is indeed a long time. The cursed goddess Claytel nodded. Her eyes fell on Angelia's body, and then she asked, "Sister, what's the matter with your sudden visit? If it's because of the war between my cursed system and the solar system, then I can only say sorry. Even I can't stop the confrontation between the divine factions. I believe that Your Majesty, the respected Lord of Holy Light, will also forgive us." "Oh, is it so?" Angelia said quietly. "I didn't know that your cursed god system actually went to war with the sun god system. In the solar system, the supreme deity is the goddess of sun radiance." The cursed goddess Claytel fell silent. She couldn't figure out what else could make the eldest sister among the 18-winged archangels come to her divine realm in person, besides starting a divine war between the cursed god system and the sun god system. The goddess of curse explained. This war between gods did not break out suddenly, but to resolve the grievances accumulated over tens of millions of years. I believe you can understand. Angelia said. Under normal circumstances, our angel clan will not interfere with the conflicts between your divine factions. Hear this. The cursed goddess secretly breathed a sigh of relief. If the angel clan joins the war, let alone the cursed god system, even if the entire evil god system alliance including the destructive god system, the undead god system, etc. are added, they will not be able to do it. The tens of trillions of angelic armies are the nightmare in the hearts of countless gods. Although they have gone through tens of millions of years of development, the major pantheons of the 10,000 realms battlefield are more powerful than during the Holy Demon War era, and the number of gods has increased by more than 100 times. But don't forget that the angel family is also developing. No one knows how many more angels will be born from the reincarnation pools of the angel clan after tens of millions of years. Then why did sister come? One little thing. Angelia said with a calm expression. You once cursed a major god of the ocean system, which prevented his descendants from becoming gods. Now, that race has become a believer in our Lord, so I need you to lift the curse. I remember this, but... The cursed goddess Lecter said hesitantly. Sister, I don't know, this matter contains an inside story. Angelia said. I don't care about this, I just want you to lift the curse. Of course, you can also refuse and challenge my angel clan to see if they still have the war power they had back then. The goddess of curse bit her silver teeth and said with full of grief and anger, I understand. 78%. Chapter 453 Easy to handle. In front of Angelia, the curse goddess Cletal lifted the blood curse of the Medusa family. It's easy and effortless. The curse that had tortured the Medusa family for tens of millions of years dissipated in the blink of an eye, and the strong contrast highlighted the gap between the gods and the ants. From the beginning to the end, the cursed goddess never had the chance to tell the so-called inside story. Because Angelia doesn't care about this at all. She just wants results. The cursed goddess Cletal felt sad and angry, but she could only endure it silently. As the supreme ruler of the cursed pantheon, she has a large group of main gods with great divine power under her command, as well as a large number of gods. A single thought can affect the fate of countless worlds and countless creatures. She is also famous in the battlefield of all realms, possessing the supreme throne of the God King. But even so, facing Angelia, she could only choose to lower her head. Because behind Angelia stood the angel clan and the terrifying existence of the Lord of Holy Light. In the era of the Holy Demon War tens of millions of years ago, the Lord of Holy Light had already demonstrated to them, the supreme gods of the pantheon, what is called the supreme power of the universe. The terrifying Void Demon King is no match for the power of the Lord of Holy Light. After being defeated, he chose to self-destruct the Demon Emperor's body and escaped from the universe. If he didn't run fast, the Demon King of the Void would have burped. The arrogant demon army must also be wiped out. Therefore, no matter how sad and angry she was, the curse goddess Cletal did not say a word, no, in front of Angelia. Just like Angelia said, her cursed god system dares to go to war with the gods of the Holy and Light camp, such as the Light god system and the Sun god system, but it does not dare to provoke the Angel clan. The reputation that the Angel clan gained during the era of the Holy Demon War also shocked the supreme gods like them. Nailed it. The cursed goddess Cletal looked at Angelia who was standing in the main hall. The grief and anger in her heart did not show on her face. Despite her unusual indignation, the figure in front of her was just an incarnation of Angelia's thoughts. She could easily destroy it, but the consequences of doing so were unbearable for her. She didn't want to face the sword of fate coming from the end of time and space. She would rather compete with the twin god kings than provoke this 18-winged archangel, who is famous for his power and scheming. What else can be done? I can only endure it. Angelia smiled lightly and said, Cletal, your choice is wise. At least at this time, you have won the favor of our angel clan. If one day in the future, our angel clan will enter the battlefield of all realms, I will be glad for my choice today. Hear this. The expression of curse goddess Cletal suddenly changed. His eyes were full of horror. Does this mean that the angel clan will return to the battlefield of all realms? This is not good news. At least it's not good news for the pantheon of their evil camp. After all, they are the opposing camps of the sacred and light gods. If the angel clan wants to conquer the battlefield of all realms, they will be the first to attack them, followed by the ancient gods headed by the titans and dragons. The cursed goddess Cletal forced a smile and said, It is also an honor for me to serve the respected Lord of Holy Light. Angelia said it before. The Medusa family cursed by her became a race of believers of the Lord of Light. By lifting the curse, she was serving the Lord of Light. If she can use this matter to get the attention of the Lord of Holy Light, it might really be a good thing for her. At least when the war between gods starts in the future. The angel race will be gentle on her cursed pantheon. Yes, it's time to start the god war. Although these supreme gods are afraid of the angel clan and revere the great Lord of Holy Light, if the angel clan really wants to conquer the universe, they will choose to resist. Direct surrender is impossible, because this is a battle of faith. Even the supreme gods cannot lose their place of faith. That would directly end their upward mobility and cut off their path to promotion. This is taboo and absolutely not allowed. No supreme god will bow his head to other divine camps until the world is stained with blood and completely defeated, even if the opponent is an angel clan. Of course, if he is the god of law, he will not care about the place of faith. Because the god of law does not need such a thing. However, in the battlefield of all realms, there are not many gods of law because it is too difficult to practice. Coupled with the root of racial bond, most of the gods that lead to the battlefield of all realms are gods of faith. Especially these supreme gods, they basically control the faith of countless living beings in them. After Angelia left, the cursed goddess Cletal also fell silent. She no longer struggled with the indignation in her heart, but was thinking about the angel clan's imminent entry into the battlefield of all realms. Compared to the curse of the Medusa family, this is a big deal. Aren't there rumors that there is something wrong with the Lord of Holy Light's body? That's why the angel clan withdrew from the battlefield of all realms after the end of the Holy Demon War. Could it be that the Lord of Holy Light has returned to the top again and wants to become the true supreme being of the universe? No matter what, the return of the angel family has become a reality. Without hesitation, the cursed goddess Cletal immediately contacted the supreme gods of the evil camp, such as the King of Destruction, the Lord of the Undead, and the Lich King, to discuss countermeasures. 78%. Chapter 454. Even the evil god has a friendly side. The Holy City, the City Lord's Palace. Lin Yu was eating breakfast with Angelia waiting on her. As holy beings, angels do not need to eat. But as time went by with Lin Yu, Angelia began to adapt to this process. It's really just a process. Because the food disappears as soon as it is eaten. No need to fill your stomach, just taste it. After a night of practice, Lin Yu once again made great gains. With Angelia's hard work and cooperation, Lin Yu mastered the origin of more than 30 laws with different attributes in one night. So far, the number of origins of laws he has mastered has exceeded 100. This is unimaginable for local demigods like the Queen of Nature Elf, Queen Medusa, etc., because no matter how talented they are, no creature dares to do such a thing. Lin Yu is so unscrupulous because of the protection of the power of creation. If it were other demigods, they would have long been worried about whether they would be burned to ashes during the next process of lighting the divine fire. Have you met the cursed goddess? Lin Yu took a sip of mead. He looked up in surprise at the beautiful and elegant secretary. Yes, my lord. Angelia nodded and said, the goddess of curse is a relatively friendly supreme god. Although he is an evil god, he is also very polite and easy to talk to. After knowing that those Medusas were your followers, she decisively agreed to lift their blood curse. Now, the Medusa family is no longer troubled by the curse. They can practice and become gods like other intelligent beings. This is a good news. A smile appeared on Lin Yu's handsome cheeks and he said, when we get to the battlefield of all realms, if there is a chance, we can have a good communication with this cursed goddess. Like you said, even the evil god has a friendly side. My lord is wise. Angelia said, our army wants to conquer the battlefields of all realms, and even all realms of the universe. The supreme gods of these gods are our biggest obstacles. If we can make them surrender without a fight, we can save a lot of time. Lin Yu agreed with this. Conquering a force or a world does not necessarily require war. For example, Natural Spirit Empire. Although he did not enjoy the benefits of war, he still bowed his head to him. The same can be said for those gods. There is a classic saying from our ancestors, be polite before fighting. If you don't listen to your good words, then you can only drink wine as a penalty. Of course, the prerequisite is that he has enough power. Without a strong force to intimidate, others would not take him seriously even if he toasted. Lin Yu didn't think anymore and concentrated on eating his breakfast. Because it's useless to think about it now. His strength is still too weak, and he has not even reached the realm of true gods. How can he make the supreme gods who control the major gods bow their heads to him? Have you always relied on the title of Lord of Holy Light to dominate the world? Even if it is really useful, relying on the identity of the Lord of Holy Light to control the major gods and the universe, it is only a beautiful scenery in front of you, and the danger is hidden further away. He will not forget what he said to the goddess of nature and elves before in an unconscious state. Chaos oscillations, cosmic cascades. A war that may be more tragic than the war between saints and demons is about to sweep across the entire universe. The enemy may not just be the returning void demons. There are also Omnics, eternity. At that time, as the Lord of Holy Light, he will definitely bear the brunt. Who makes him the most awesome? The sky fell, but a tall man held it up. In the eyes of the angel clan and even countless creatures in the universe, he is the tallest person. He had to rush to the front to fight against the void demons and even enemies from other universes that might appear. If he doesn't work harder and make himself stronger, when the time comes, he will be the first person to die. His identity as the Lord of Holy Light brought him unimaginable benefits, but at the same time, it also gave him a great responsibility. So, he has to work hard. Break through and improve yourself through constant communication. He wants to become stronger and more awesome than that old guy. Had breakfast. Lin Yu came to the Lord's Hall. As usual, he took Angelia and others to count yesterday's loot. After everything was done, Lin Yu received a total of more than 600 million gold coins and summoned more than 200 large-scale angel legions including holy angels and fallen angels at once. The total number of summoned angels exceeds 11 million. Since then, the total size of the angel army under Lin Yu has reached more than 35 million. As usual, he dispatched the newly summoned army of holy angels to the floating island in another world, and the army of fallen angels to the 36 islands in the bay. As a result, the total size of the angel army he invested in the floating island in the other world was a full 20 million. Coupled with the army of top-level arms and the army of kingdom professionals. Those foreign professionals such as Xiao Li, Xiao Bangxi and others cannot stand up this time. Even if they have the support of the world rules of the floating island in another world, it will not help. In this war, the world rules of the alien island must be destroyed by him. 78%. Chapter 455 If there is no way, then create a way. Noon. Sacred City has more than 20 buildings that can breed dragon troops dragon nest. All of these dragon nests were upgraded to full level by Lin Yu. Each dragon nest can breed 10,000 dragons every day. Lin Yu can get more than 200,000 dragon troops without doing anything in a day. If Sha Qingyu knew, she would die of envy. In addition to the Dragon's Lair, the Holy City has also added dozens of other military buildings, all of which can summon top military units, such as Golden Behemoth, Kodo Behemoth, Medusa, etc. According to statistics, Lin Yu already has more than 100 military buildings under his command. And without exception, they are all top-level units and max-level buildings. Just with the appearance of these military structures, Lin Yu can already be said to have made a lot of money. After all, he saves more than 1 million top-level soldiers every day. How many gold coins does this save for him? Over time, it becomes even more terrifying. Let's talk about Artisan Angel. One day later, the craftsman angels headed by Carol once again built more than 30 angel cities. It also includes 3 medium-sized cities of angels. The reason why the number has increased dramatically is because the number of artisan angels has doubled. The more craftsmen there are, the faster the craftsmanship will be. So far, Lin Yu has 87 small angel cities under his command, plus 4 medium-sized angel cities, and his war power has skyrocketed. These newly built angel cities were also sent to floating islands in another world by Lin Yu. Including those previously sent by Lin Yu to conquer the floating island in another world, the total number of angel cities exceeded 50, which was more than double the number of angel cities that attacked the Land of Plenty. The war on this floating island is basically coming to an end. All we are doing now is the finishing work, such as clearing out other islands in the Bay Area and the Far East. In addition to the army of the Natural Elf Empire, there are also millions of holy angel armies originally located in the Land of Abundance, as well as elite legions from the Holy Sea of Light. Come to think of it, it won't take long to get it done. As for the cleanup work in the Bay Area, it will be even easier. Therefore, Lin Yu placed his main war target on the floating island in another world. Nothing to do. Lin Yu uses consciousness to communicate and chat at Wanji floating island. The war in this world is about to end, and I will soon ascend to the position of island owner. Do you want to find a way to open up a new floating island in another world for me? In the recent days of war, Lin Yu has not revealed any more cross-border transmission blueprints. This really disappointed him. If there were new teleportation blueprints, he would have opened a third world battlefield by now. After all, for the cleanup work of Far East 36 islands in the Gulf and other areas, his angel army basically does not need to personally take action. The kingdom's army under his command is more than capable. His current kingdom armies include the army of natural elves, the army of dark elves, the army of light believers, the army of beasts, the army of dragons, the army of sea people, the army of mountain giants, and elite legions of other races. The total scale is more than 200 million. Almost 8 times the size of the angel army. And they are all elite. With such a huge elite army, isn't it easy to clear out the remaining areas? His army of angels in this world can completely free up to attack other floating islands in other worlds. After a while, Lin Yu is waiting for the reply on the rules of the floating island world. The explosion rate of cross-border transfer drawings is already very low. This is a rule set by the boss, and there is nothing I can do about it. No way, Lin Yu said with his mind. Although you are a broken world rule, you must also have the spirit of hard work and progress. If there is no way, then create a way. Or, do you not want to swallow the origin of other floating islands? I'll work hard. If it's so reluctant, forget it. I'm considering letting other floating islands merge with you as the main body. Lin Yu acted quite tough. The person he is now is no longer the person he was before. When he first arrived, he called the world rules of Floating Island the mother of rules. Now, he is the father of the rules of the world. The incomplete rules of the world are equivalent to the big lowly sea tang and the immortal flower bower who are in the stage of demon cultivation, and they have to rely on him to cultivate them. Without his help, the world rules of this floating island would be like this until death. Not to mention challenging the boss, whether he can take up the position of department manager is still a question. After hearing what Lin Yu said, the world rules of Floating Island couldn't be tightened in an instant, and he responded urgently, Great Lord Lin Yu, I promise to get this matter settled as soon as possible. That's pretty much it. Lin Yu nodded with satisfaction. Such an attitude is consistent with the worldview, values, and outlook on life. After all, it is the rule of the world. How can you be a salty fish who does not seek to make progress? Just when Lin Yu was chatting with the rules of the world, the floating island of No 018439 finally ushered in a battle. After several days of clearing out, Lin Yu's army of angels, the army of kingdom soldiers, and the army of professionals finally cleared all 3 areas. The local forces were destroyed and all monsters in the wild were killed. The 3rd area was completely occupied by Lin Yu's army. It was also at this time that the armies of local forces from other regions, as well as the main armies of foreign professionals such as Shaori and Xiaobangxi, finally gathered and surrounded the 3 districts. The World War is about to begin. 78%. Chapter 456 The Army Assembles. A floating island in another world. 3rd District. The teleportation arrays flashed frequently. Every time the light flashes, a large-scale angel army will appear out of thin air, and from time to time, a majestic city of angels will arrive. After just a few moments, more than 7 million holy angels and more than 30 cities of angels were teleported here. Since then, the total size of the holy angel army gathered in the 3rd area has exceeded 20 million. City of angels more than 50. In addition, there are 6 million top-level troops and tens of millions of kingdom professionals. So far, approximately 12 million kingdom professionals have entered this floating island. Compared to the original floating island, this place is actually more dangerous. Because although the territory here is not large, the number of wild monsters is surprisingly large. Without the escort of the angel army, these kingdom professionals under Lin Yu would have suffered heavy losses. However, the higher the crisis, the greater the opportunity. You can level up faster here. Before the arrival, none of the tens of millions of professionals on the island had reached the king level. But after arriving on this floating island, Lin Yu's subordinates began to have kingdom professionals promoted to the king level one after another. Sha Qingyu is one of them. She led an army of tens of thousands of giant dragons and killed a large number of wild monsters. She also completed the conditions for promotion to a king level professional, which was to kill 10 king level enemies. Now, Sha Qingyu's level has reached the midterm king level. It's not far away from envisioning the extraordinary realm. It can be said that the harvest is huge. In addition to Sha Qingyu, there are also some top combat professionals and top lords who have also been promoted to the king level, with a total number of about 100 people. Just this point makes countless professionals who still stay on the original floating island envious. In their view, the floating island in another world is simply a paradise for upgrades. At this moment, Lin Yu's army of 20 million angels and millions of top-level troops have been fully deployed in the third area. They formed a large-scale army. Under the command of their respective corps commanders, they gathered at the border areas in all directions of the 3 districts. Prepare to fight with enemies from all directions. More than 50 cities of angels also dispersed, each guarding a battlefield area. On the entire army front in the third area, you can basically see a city of angels suspended thousands of meters in the air every few dozen kilometers. Even the small city of angels stretches across 8,000 meters. When they are suspended thousands of meters in the air, the scene is just like the supergiant alien warships that appear in science fiction movies, giving the enemy a terrifying sense of oppression. Those who are timid will be scared to death on the spot. As for morale, that goes without saying. Unless it is a regular elite army, it will not be able to hold on. Just thinking about how you will see war fortresses that cover the sky and the sun when you look up, you will know how terrifying the sense of oppression is. Patients with giant panic disorder can faint from fear. Behind the army of angels and the army of top military units, it is the legion of kingdom professionals in the kingdom of heaven. Their strength is too weak, so they can only be stationed at the back of the army's line. However, the passion for war in the hearts of the kingdom's professionals has not diminished at all. They desperately wanted war to come, so that you can rush to the battlefield with the invincible army of angels. Of course, what attracts them the most is the foreign professionals such as Xiaori and Xiaobangxi who are said to have gathered all their members. For them, this national war is more exciting than sweeping the entire floating island in another world. Brothers of the kingdom, prepare and prepare. I can already smell the smoke of war. If nothing else happens, this world war will break out soon. The attack targets of the Angel Army and the Kingdom's army are the local forces, and our goal is to kill Xiaori and Xiaobangxi. Once this war is won, they can't even think about going against our Sha country in Blue Star. I'm just afraid that those little days and little sticks will be so scared that they will flee back to Blue Star. Our team has captured a few days before and learned that the cross-border teleportation array on this floating island has been connected to the Blue Star. There have been days when the energy bar reached full value and returned to the Blue Star. Don't worry, I can run away from the monk, but I can't run away from the temple. Unless they stay on Blue Star and never come back, they will die once they land on the island. When we capture this floating island and take control of all the resources on the island, our strength will become stronger and stronger, and if they lose the floating island, we will only become weaker and weaker in comparison. Then they'll finish playing as usual. That makes sense. At this moment, tens of millions of kingdom professionals are full of passion. They can't wait to get on the battlefield. At the same time, on the outskirts of Zone 3, in all directions, densely packed figures appeared, like a vast ocean with no end in sight. They also formed a large army. There are local forces and wild monsters. Mixed in among them are a large number of foreign professionals such as Xiaori and Xiaobangxi. Before Lin Yu's army arrived, local forces, wild monsters, and foreign professionals were enemies of the camp, and everyone wanted to kill each other. But now, under the command of the rule power of the floating island in another world, they chose to unite in order to deal with this war and expel the evil alien invaders. All the forces from all major regions have gathered here. It is no exaggeration to say that it is a war of the world. 78%. Chapter 457 The Deterrent Power of the Angel Army. Compare the total size of the army. The floating island camp in another world is even better. Just the number of alien armies gathered around the third area was in the hundreds of millions. Because wild monsters also joined the battle. Looking at almost all floating island worlds, the most numerous creatures are wild monsters. In comparison, the scale of the native intelligent races is considered small. As for professionals, there are even fewer. Precisely because of the participation of wild monsters in the battle, the floating island camp in another world was able to assemble an army of hundreds of millions in a short period of time. The ones who lead the army of monsters in the wild are those monsters that have reached the extraordinary, holy, or even demigod level. The most important is, this army of hundreds of millions is not the entire strength of the floating island in another world. Because the time is too short and the journey is long, more vital forces are on their way to District 3. It can be said to be an endless stream. Without the Angel Army, even if Lin Yu had ruled the floating island world where he was and mobilized all the professionals, it would be difficult to conquer the world. Don't say it can't be done. Heavy casualties are certain. After all, the rule spirit of this floating island in another world has gone crazy. Order the entire world to fight against Lin Yu's army. War of the Worlds is not that easy to fight. Unfortunately, there is no if. Lin Yu sent an army of 20 million angels and more than 50 cities of angels here to deal a fatal blow to the creatures and rules of this world. To conquer the floating island in another world, you don't need to conquer one area after another like the original floating island world. The War of the World is over in one wave. To win a war, the morale of the Legion is very important. Only when there is morale can the army fight tooth and nail. Only then can a more powerful combat effectiveness be unleashed. For example, Lin Yu's army, and even the army of kingdom professionals, are all powerful and their morale is off the charts. On the other hand, the army on the floating island in another world. Although the scale is larger, the morale is pitifully low. As soon as they arrived at the outskirts of Area 3, they were shocked by the vast ocean-like army of angels. Especially the city of angels, suspended high in the sky. Gave them a huge blow. Some intelligent races turned around and tried to escape. God is above me. They are really the legendary angel clan. Even war weapons like City of Angels have appeared. The war power of this angel army is more powerful than the void demon tribe that invaded our world back then. That's the City of Angels. The war fortress of the angel clan is powerful in all realms of the universe. The power of war is so terrifying that even the eternal God is said to be difficult to resist. How can we destroy it? How about we just withdraw? If we want to retreat before the war has even begun, the Supreme God will not forgive us. What should I do? Facing the legendary angel clan, I feel that even the Supreme God cannot protect us. Wrong. It should be that it cannot protect itself, otherwise it would not have gathered the power of the entire world to fight against this army of angels. Fight first and then talk. Don't rush too fast after the war starts. Let other races die first. That makes sense. All the native races in the other world are discussing in private. They were all frightened by the heavily armed angel legions. After a tacit discussion, they stayed behind after the war started and let the legions of other races fight against the angel army. To put it simply, a dead Taoist friend is not a poor Taoist. If they were killed on the battlefield, the Supreme God would not resurrect them. And the Supreme God they call as the world rules of the floating island in another world. It controls the fate of all living things in the world, and only it can unite local forces, wild monsters, and foreign professionals to fight against evil. But what the spirit of rules from another world doesn't know. It can give orders to all races of creatures. However, it cannot make all races of creatures fearless of death. At least those native races with wisdom will not listen to it in this regard. Especially when the enemy they faced was the legendary angel clan, those native races became even more timid. If it weren't for the rules, they would have fled for their lives. The first to escape were the foreign professionals. Before gathering here, they were very ambitious and wanted to kill the angels and explode their equipment. Some foreign professionals who think they are powerful want to get the ultimate reward given to them by the laws of the world, so that they can become powerful demigods who master the power of the laws. As a result, after arriving here, they discovered that the size of the angel army was far greater than they imagined. Among them, there are a large number of demigod-level experts. In addition, there are millions of top-level soldiers, such as nature elves, Naga, mountain giants. The number is incredible. Normally, they would not see any of them. Now we are seeing millions at once. It is impossible to win such a war. The difference in personality was enough for them to be slaughtered like cannon fodder. Under this understanding, some foreign professionals with full energy bars immediately chose to go offline and fled back to Blue Star to watch the final outcome of the war. However, such foreign professionals are only a minority after all. Because the energy bar of most foreign professionals is not full yet. I can't even go back. I can only wait for the war to come with regret and anxiety. Finally, after an unknown amount of time, a dull horn sounded from the void, and quickly resounded throughout the entire world. Almost at the same time, the war started. Hundreds of millions of wild monsters from other worlds took the lead in rushing toward the camp of the angel army. Their low IQ makes them fearless at this moment. On the contrary, the monsters who commanded them were already ready to escape. 79%. Chapter 458. What you said makes sense, Smecta. 3-Zone Defense Camp. The 12-winged seraph Mia stood on the wall of a medium-sized angel city, ordering the millions of angels behind her. She held a scepter that looked like it was made of white jade. The 12 angel wings behind him all emitted a dazzling light. She waved the scepter in her hand, pouring out thousands of rays of holy light towards the army of monsters from another world that came like a tide in the distance. In an instant, all the thousands of holy lights turned into a bright holy sword. Chi-chi-chi-chi-chi. The holy sword pierced the space. It fell to the ground like a heavy rain. Suddenly, dense small mushroom clouds appeared on the ground. It was like being bombarded by cluster missiles indiscriminately. With just one move, millions of wild monsters were instantly killed. At the same time, the evil power in the corpse was also completely purified. This scene instantly shocked the native intelligent races and those foreign professionals who gathered behind the wild monster army. Especially foreign professionals such as Shaori and Xiaobangxi. The most powerful among them are only high-level professionals, and have not even reached the king level. Where have you ever seen such a shocking scene? Idiot. The 12-winged angel is so powerful. I am certain that she is the commander of the angel army. If you kill her, you will get the ultimate reward given by the rules of the floating island world. Quote. Hear these words. The nearby foreign professionals immediately rolled their eyes. With this level of combat power, killing them wouldn't be like playing for fun. What about rewards? It would be great if they survived this war. In fact, when they saw the angel army's camp and the terrifying auras, they already felt like they had been tricked by the rules of the world. There are only 1 or 2 million angels. Totally deceptive. According to their rough statistics, the total size of the angel army gathered in the third area has reached more than 20 million, and there are also millions of top-level armies. Among them, there are too many angels and top-level soldiers at the king level, extraordinary level, and saint level to count. In addition, there are a large number of demigod-level experts. The 12-winged angels in the angel army camp are all terrifying pinnacle demigods, standing at the top of the mortal world. Leave aside the other legions. Just those 12-winged angels and the demigod-level warriors in the army were enough to kill them all. This is no exaggeration, but fact. An angel army of 20 million means that there are at least 40 12-winged angels at the peak demigod level. Think about it, how terrible is this? In addition, there are powerful demigods such as the Lich King, the Elf Queen, the Naga Queen, the Mountain Giant King, the Big Lily Stern, the Immortal Flower Bower, the Holy Light Elemental Elf Lilith, and so on. Among them, there are many who possess divine weapons. For example, Lilith, Lich King, Dragon of the Templar, etc. Isn't it easy for such a camp to bloodbath the floating island army in another world? To put it bluntly, even if the spirit of world rules on this floating island breaks the rules and shows up in person to join the battle, they will still have to be pinned to the ground and beaten up. Then what should we do now, Smecta? Our energy bar has not reached full value and we cannot escape back to Blue Star. We can only find a way to survive this war. Let the legions of the native races go to the front line to die first, and we retreat while fighting. What you said makes sense, Smecta. Quote. Just when countless little days and little sticks were talking about it. The angel army also attacked. As the commander of the angel army, the 12-winged seraph Mia issued an order for the entire army to attack. She held a white jade-like scepter and pointed directly at the incoming army of wild monsters. A bunch of lowly and disrespectful creatures who don't deserve mercy. Purify them with the holy light. As soon as the words fell, the angel army and the kingdom's top military force all attacked. At the same time, there was a dense roar. That was the sound of magic cannons coming from City of Angels, shaking the heaven and earth. As the dense energy beams tore through the space, more and more spectacular mushroom clouds suddenly appeared in the camp of the wild monster army. The earth is shaking. Continuous mountain ranges were also penetrated. As for the monster army in the wild, they suffered heavy losses. Countless wild monsters were torn to pieces on the spot. High in the sky, a large number of bird-like wild monsters were bombarded and killed, and their broken corpses fell to the ground like raindrops. For a time, the sky and the earth were dyed red. The whole world is filled with the strong smell of blood, which is extremely pungent. However, this is only the prelude to the war. At the same time that the first round of bombardment was carried out in Angel City, the army of angels and the army of top-level soldiers followed closely behind, and they rushed into the camp of the wild monster army. Visible to the naked eye, monsters in the wild fell in pieces. The army of angels rushing at the front was completely unstoppable. The powerful angelic combat skills and divine arts sweep through everything. Everywhere he passed, there were corpses of monsters everywhere. The top soldiers in the kingdom who were following behind would not even be able to grab the monsters if they were slower. My lord's angel army is so crazy. High in the sky, Elf Queen Bernina and others were shocked. It's not that they haven't seen the battle scenes of the Angel Legion before. They have never seen so many angels charging together on the battlefield. The picture was both beautiful and violent, and very shocking. Just at this time, a bright holy light enveloped them. The Legion commander has an order. Kill out the strong men and commanders in the enemy camp. When this voice fell, Elf Queen Bernina and others, as well as the demigods and saint-level experts from the angel army camp, all disappeared from the place. This is the teleportation magic from the Angel of Power. They were teleported directly to the Chinese camp of the alien army. Go straight to Wanglong. 79%. Chapter 459 Targeting the Chinese Army. Because the size of the wild monster army was too large, the Chinese military camp of the alien native race was directly set up dozens of kilometers away from the frontline battlefield. They believe this is also a safe distance. If the monster army in the wild fails to make any achievements or collapses too quickly, they can evacuate in time. Even if those angels had wings, it would not be easy to catch up with them from such a long distance. Inside the Chinese army camp, gathering most of the high-ranking and powerful people of the native races. They dominated the native armies on the battlefield. At this moment, they are paying close attention to the battle situation dozens of kilometers away. Before fighting the angel army, they need to know more clearly how powerful the angel army's war power is, which can help them issue orders faster and more accurately. That 12-winged angel is too powerful. Destroy millions of wild monsters with one move, far more powerful than the forbidden curse. Looking at our entire world, there is almost no peak demigod that can compete with her. The most terrifying thing is that in the camp of the angel army, there are dozens of 12-winged angels like this. Facing such an enemy, we have almost no hope of victory. No matter how powerful the 12-winged angels are, they are still individuals. The greatest threat to us is the cities of angels. Their destructive power far exceeds those of 12-winged angels. A round of artillery bombardment killed countless wild monsters. None of the void demons who invaded our world back then were so perverted. This is indeed true. The floating island world is not just a mundane world, it is also incomplete. The void demon clan back then did not take the floating island world to heart at all. Those sent to invade were only small groups. They are the weakest demons in a ragtag army. They were able to repel the demons simply because the demon army was not powerful enough. Under normal circumstances, if the angel clan wanted to conquer the floating island world, they would not invade on a large scale, let alone send so many cities of angels over. At most, there are only one or two. But now is an abnormal situation. The person who wants to conquer this floating island world is the Lord of Holy Light of the angel clan. Moreover, it is still the early stage of the Lord of Holy Light's fortune. He gave an order, and dozens of cities of angels plus an army of 20 million angels were dispatched. The overall war power is countless times more powerful than the Void Demon Legion that invaded this world. This will naturally panic the native intelligent races of this world. If the strength of the angel army is similar to that of the Void Demon clan army back then, they would still have some confidence in defeating them. But the strength of the angel army invading this world at this moment has completely exceeded the limit that they can bear. If it weren't for the rules of the world, they would have run away long ago. Even if you really can't run away, you can just surrender on the spot. Angels are not demons. After all, they will not be driven away to death. It is worth mentioning that this floating island world has no native humans, let alone any native race that believes in the holy light. Otherwise, the local forces would have already started fighting internally. Just like the bright holy sea in the original floating island world. As soon as Secretarian appeared, he directly caused the light holy sea to defect to the kingdom of heaven and declare war on the kingdom of Kilias, which did not believe in the holy light. This is the unity of the holy light camp. The monster army in the wild can't last long. Facing the angel army, they are just like cannon fodder on the battlefield, all trying to kill people and give away their origins. In 4 hours at most, the monster army in the wild will be wiped out. At that time, we will be the ones facing the angel army. We must prepare as soon as possible. Just when the top leaders and powerful people of these native races were talking about it, thousands of meters away from them, portals emitting dazzling light suddenly appeared. There are at least 1,000 portals. They were scattered around the Chinese army camp, surrounding them inside. What it is? How come there are so many light gates in the sky? Although I don't know what its function is, I can be sure that this must be the method of those angels. As a legendary mythical race, the Angel clan masters countless powerful combat skills and divine arts. Stop talking nonsense and be alert. Be prepared for any possible accidents. There was a demigod shouting in a deep voice, which immediately made the local strong men present concentrate. His voice just fell. The dazzling portals slowly opened. Immediately afterwards, figures with terrifying auras flew out of those portals. At the head are the 12 winged angels at the peak demigod level, followed by a large number of angel demigods, alien demigods, and densely packed holy ranks and extraordinary powerful men. The total number is in the hundreds of thousands. This scene directly shocked the local powerhouses present. They were saying just now that the Chinese military camp is dozens of kilometers away from the frontline battlefield, which is a very safe distance. As a result, now, the strong men of the Angel clan have teleported over collectively and directly surrounded them. This was obviously a plan to catch them all and not give them a chance to escape. 79%. Chapter 460 Lilith's Artifact. There are also a lot of local strong men present. There are at least 100,000 or more. After all, they come from all major regions, belonging to all major races. There are even a large number of warcraft among them. In the past, such a scene would have been rare. Even if a world-class event were held, it would be difficult for so many strong men of all races to appear. Only the spirit of rules in this world has such appeal, and that's even when the world is in danger of being invaded. However, even so, faced with the enemy that appeared in front of them, they had no confidence that they could defeat it. That's hundreds of thousands of powerful people. The lowest level is the extraordinary level, and it only occupies a very small part of it. Most of them are saints who control the power of the field. There are the fewest superpowers at the demigod level, but there are more than 200. The most terrifying thing is that many of them are demigods at the pinnacle level, standing at the top of the mortal world. Damn it, we're surrounded. That must be the legendary space gate, which can teleport enemies from very far away. I sensed many terrifying auras among the enemy troops. In front of that kind of aura, even as a demigod, I look extremely weak. I can sense that there are people in the enemy camp holding artifacts, more than one. Artifact? How can this be? Some local strong men exclaimed. Artifacts are exclusive equipment of immortal gods. Even a god-level blacksmith would find it difficult to create. Compared with other floating island worlds, their floating island is not large, and the number of intelligent races is not large. The strength of civilization is relatively weak. Therefore, there is no god-level blacksmith in this world, not even a single artifact. The most powerful equipment is only the best semi-artifact. For them, artifacts only exist in legends. However, at this moment, they discovered that the enemy not only surpassed them in size and overall strength, but they even had artifacts, and not just one. This makes them even more desperate. We were tricked by the spirit of rules. How can we defeat such a terrible enemy? Escape for your life. As soon as these words were spoken, a strong local man who was good at escaping disappeared from the place. Nowadays, there are strong enemy figures in all directions. This area is surrounded. However, they were still unwilling to give in and wanted to escape. After all, if you stay where you are, you will surely die. If you choose to escape before the war begins, you may still have a chance of survival. However, what happened next completely cut off their escape route, and also caused other local strongmen to lose the idea of escape. It's the 12-winged seraph Mia. She took action herself. As a third-level commanding angel, Mia's ability is to guard the battlefield and lead the war. I saw her waving the scepter in her hand, releasing a bright holy light. In an instant, a huge barrier appeared out of thin air. Directly cover and seal off the entire area within tens of thousands of meters. This is the enhanced version of the magic, War Shackles. With Mia's status as a 12-winged seraph, coupled with the release of power at the peak demigod level, only a true god can destroy this barrier. In a mortal world like Floating Island, Mia's barrier can be said to be indestructible. Even if there is a demigod holding an artifact, it is basically impossible to break it open. In other words, the more than 100,000 high-ranking and powerful people of the native race present were directly trapped in a jar by the 12-winged seraph Mia. It is impossible to escape by running. Surrender may still be a way to survive. A person's future can be chosen by himself. A beautiful figure walked out slowly. She has a beautiful face and a proud figure. Wearing a snow-white magic dress. The whole body is filled with holy light and is holy and flawless. It is the holy light elemental elf Lilith. She stood high in the sky, overlooking the local strong men below, and said, "The fate you choose is up to you. But only by believing in our Lord and embracing the holy light, will you have a chance to survive. This is also the only way for you to achieve self-salvation." As soon as he finished speaking, a huge figure rose into the sky. His body is more than 50 meters tall, and his body is covered with countless large and small stones, as if he is made of stones. Compared to the mountain giants, the stones on his body are smoother and flatter. The body shape is also larger. He is from the Hill Giant clan, a branch of the Giant clan. The Hill Giant's voice was like thunder, and he roared at the holy light elemental elf Lilith, "We can surrender, but we will never change our beliefs. My family of Hill Giants will only believe in the great true God Titan." The other Hill Giants present also echoed. They also unabashedly expressed their contempt for the mountain giant King Von and other powerful mountain giants who appeared in the enemy camp. In their opinion, these mountain giants have abandoned their faith in the true gods of the Titans. This is a disgrace to the entire giant family, even if they come from another world. The stubborn heretic. The holy light elemental elf Lilith had a slightly cold expression, and then grabbed a golden sword from the void. With the golden sword slashed down. Suddenly, there were terrifying sword lights that swept towards those hill giants. The hill giants were obviously well prepared and immediately took a defensive stance. However, the sword light swept away. All the hill giants present fell down. Even some local strong men standing near them were implicated and all were killed. No one can carry it. This golden sword is one of the artifacts given to the holy light elemental elf Lilith by Lin Yu, the holy sword of light. With the power of the divine weapon, it is easy to kill mortal creatures. It is easy to kill mortal creatures.